Hi everyone, my name is Caleb. This is Wilfred,
Hi
and
guys.
together we are the authors of the book Ascendance: The Road to Being Extraordinary. Yeah, and today this is our very first book we have written together. Yeah, and the very first podcast that we are doing. So maybe we share a little bit more about why we have created this book and podcast. Yeah, so this podcast is designed to specifically for advisors,
Yep.
right, who are thinking to take their business to the next level. We realize that there's a lot of ways to succeed in a business, right? Through warm market, cold market, and there are many ways of planning. And what we really hope to do is to bring out the strengths in every single one of you, yeah, over the next few episodes to really see how you can energize yourself even better, right, in the business. And from there, unleash your strengths and potential.
Yep.
Yeah. So before we move on to that, maybe Wilfred, you want to share a little bit more about your background?
Sure. Yeah. So hi guys. My name is Wilfred. I've been a financial services director for the last 5 to 6 years in the industry. But most importantly, for the purpose of this podcast, I'm a certified Strengths Finders coach in Singapore.
Hmm.
So Strengths Finder is a tool which helps individuals to understand themselves a lot better, what energizes them, and what helps them to achieve the fullest potential in their own scope of work and in their lives. That the keyword that we are talking about in this podcast a lot will be on energy, on
Yep.
being energizing. So as a strength finder coach, I found a lot of passion in understanding each individual's weaknesses and what troubles them and what are some things they are doing in their work and their lives that are making them unproductive and unfulfilled. So because of this course, which is actually a course available for leaders in Singapore, by paying $9,800, I went for this 5 days course, which really helped me to understand my associates and the people around me better, to be able to coach them to use their strengths to their best advantage. So that's a little bit of my background, and also we together we lead a team around 50 associates in the financial services industry, to change the entire advisory landscape in Singapore to help advisors be more known and respected. So yes, that's been my background. Yeah.
Before advisory, what were you doing?
Before advisory, so I was actually studying maritime studies in university.
Okay.
So I was just very classic. I listened to my parents about what university course I should take. So because Singapore is a very important shipping hub, so my parents suggested me to join the maritime industry, even though they did not understand anything about it.
Also, it's not because of interest.
No, not really. But I think I forced myself to be interested in it for a while.
Okay.
But something that I knew that I always loved was to converse with people and to make an impact with people. I think in school I've always been in leadership positions in secondary school, in JC, in uni, and but I realized it was not really about getting the spotlight,
Yep.
but it's about being in a power of influence to make a difference in others. So from there, I found my calling to be an advisor, because the words that we have, the words that we make, the actions that we enable our clients to take actually makes a huge impact in their financial lives and the outcome in the end.
Yep.
Which makes me pursue advisory when I was just 23 years old. So 7 years later, here I am today.
Wow.
Yep. So maybe you can introduce yourself to everyone as well.
Okay, so maybe I share a little bit more about my background. Yeah, I came from a normal academic stream. Yeah, so that was many years ago. My PSLE score wasn't the best. It was 198. And I had to choose between going to Express or normal academic. Yeah, and at the end I chose normal academic. Why? Because the school is just 3 minutes away, yeah, from my house.
For convenience.
Yeah, and my dad was not very happy about that. He said, "Hey, why not go and study 4 years?" Yeah, so that was when I started. And going to normal academic, I had my school had 4 express classes and only 2 normal academic classes. So I was thinking to myself that, wow, I'm not even average, right? I'm below average. And that started to get me think that, since I'm already not so good already, why try so hard? Right? Why not just play, go to school, play catching every day, play with my friends, after school, go land shop and play. So that was my life when I was in secondary school. Sec 2, last 10 in cohort. I had to call my parents down, and and the teacher was showing my parents that my grades are not the best. Subsequently, Sec 3, I was given a role of the class monitor, and this is where I started to take more responsibility and control my life, and that gave me more push, right, to do better from for my academics. And from there, of course, my parents sent me to tuition, and my grades started to improve gradually. So Sec 4, I managed to score 8 points for N-levels and subsequently applied for this thing called Poly Foundation Program, PFP. And they gave me this course called biotechnology, biotech. Yeah, and I rejected. It was in Ngee Ann. I applied for accountancy. So I tell myself, okay, never mind. I want to work hard and I want to go to accountancy myself. And I did that in Sec 5. Yeah, so that was me. That was my background. Going to poly, I was very introverted, right? At the start, I couldn't really interact with people. And poly really changed my life for the better, right? In short, I went to 7 different countries, all for free.
Wow.
Right, furthest I went is California, where we had some university exchange there, and I went to Hong Kong and Japan to work also. So that was where things became a bit more real for me, right? Living alone in Hong Kong for 6 months and Japan for about 3 months. And I told myself that, wow, this is what the world is like. Yeah, and my boss actually flew to Singapore to hire me. I was doing accounting in Four Seasons Hotel.
Hong Kong boss.
Yeah, Hong Kong boss. Yeah, so he was the regional director of finance, and he flew to Four Seasons Singapore for a visit and audit trip lah. So he asked me out for dinner, and he asked me why not consider a career path with him. But I kindly told him that, I'm young, I want to consider my options. Yeah, and when I was in poly, I started trading the stock market as well, right? Mainly US equities with a couple of my friends. Yeah, so I wanted to just earn a side income. I was working as a bartender, as a waiter for like 10 to $12 an hour. Yeah, so I was working as a waiter and a bartender for $10 to $12 an hour, and I was telling myself, wow, I would really want to, start to accumulate some wealth. And trading came into my life. Yeah, and it seems very simple. Just sit down on your desk, you click some buttons and you essentially can make money.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was when I started going to this market. And over a month, I think I doubled my account. Yeah, and we were in the 5 figures profit range. And for a young 19-year-old, 20-year-old,
a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I told myself that, I really want to make this work. Unfortunately, or fortunately rather, one of the nights, it was a Friday, I remember, because unemployment report came out, but we didn't know anything about all this data. So what we did was just, trading the stock market. And when we trade, I mean on margin. That means we borrow money right from the broker to trade. And we didn't even know what were all these things. So that very night, me and my friends, we lost a substantial amount of money in the markets. I think 90+%, or rather 100%. We had a margin call.
Yeah.
And I told myself, okay, I really want to make sure that this works in the long run. And this was where I started the whole idea of developing myself personally, right? Through books, courses, mentors, spend 5 figures on all of these courses to make sure that I invest in my own knowledge.
Yep.
Yeah, so moving to NS, I spent a good amount of time doing that, learning from mentors outside, right? Army. And of course, I had a few ventures when I was also in Army. Yeah, so fortunate to go OCS, graduated top 10%.
Yep.
And of course, people tell me, why not sign on? You have a good career path. And my poly grades were close to perfect GPA as well. So life gave me like a very good so-called platform to grow from. And people expect me to be a banker, private banker, do M&A.
So many options you had.
Yeah, a lot of options, really.
Yeah.
And I had also a scholarship with, back then in Ngee Ann and also in NTU right, with UOB, which they can also offer me MA. But again, my mindset was I want to do something I can call my own. And I started some e-commerce myself and some businesses along the way. And there was the pivotal point in my life was when I started this club called Youth Investors Club. Yeah, because I was quite passionate about this whole idea of trading and investing. What I've done is I asked myself, why not find more people like myself? Yeah, to come together, learn together, and from there maybe we can keep each other as a good network. And from there, I asked my friends, those who are more interested, they join this Telegram group. And from there, I say, if you have any friends, you can ask them to also join in as well. And from there, we went to different networking sessions together. I would book cafes or sometimes bars. And yeah, we'll just have a conversation there.
Yep.
Right, just to go get to know one another. And slowly the group grew. And unfortunately, COVID struck. So that was when we couldn't meet anymore. And people were thinking, okay, why not we make it work by moving it online? And that was where Zoom came out. Yeah, so we had Zoom sessions to just... It's not really networking at that point of time, right? Because it's hard to network over Zoom, especially like 50 people in the room. So it's more like a one-way sharing. I will take what I learned from some of the books, mentors, courses, and I'll just share it with
Like a lesson.
share with them to let them have some takeaways. So the group grew from 20 people to 2,000 people at the end, and I was managing the group on a daily basis. And when I was managing it, it was quite tedious because people will send spam messages, they will send certain things that it's not the best, not the most appropriate, right? And I asked myself, well, how long can I sustain this for? So I asked myself, how can I make this skill set that I had into a career that I can really provide services? Yeah, and like I mentioned, I wanted to run some business on the side. So I was thinking, well, left and right. Unfortunately or fortunately, only got one role. Yeah, and that's FA. Yeah, and FA back then, financial advisory, of course, had a lot of stigma. I mean, even until today. And I was really thinking very hard, wow, should I go into this industry or not? I have so many choices. Why should I be there? Yeah, and I reached out to different directors to see which company suited me the best. And of course, I met you.
That's the time I met you.
Yeah, that was 2020. Sometime, can't remember exactly which month. Mid-year.
Early to mid-year,
Yeah, early mid-year. Yeah, before I ORD. Yeah, so that was when I joined this career, and 4 years in now, 2024. Yeah, I'm very happy to be in this journey with you. Together we write this book. And yeah, maybe share a little bit more about the book.
So from Caleb's story, I think what I realized is that I think there are a lot of twists and turns in life and detours, but at the end of the day, somehow it might bring us to where we're exactly supposed to be. And I think challenges and obstacles would harden us as well, help us to grow. I think without all these different things that you were facing, like you didn't lose money in your trading, you wouldn't have been incentivized to grow because there's no reason to. So thanks for sharing that with the viewers as well. So I think the book that we wrote, Ascendance, The Road to Being Extraordinary, is a passion project of ours.
Yeah.
Because I think personally one of our main roles is to help young individuals to achieve their fullest potential in their business and in their life. And we wrote the book to just write down our success principles and our thoughts. Things that we developed over the years that we are aligned with, like early morning habits, how do we manage so many tasks to be done in one day. We wrote all in the book so that we can extend our influence beyond just the people that we talk to. So I think it's heavily related to this podcast as well, where we focus very clearly and very directly into one of the specific chapters, chapter 10, which is unlocking our unique superpower within every single one of us. So very excited to have this podcast because it helped us to zoom in into every single person's talents and strengths. Regardless of your personality. I think you and I have met individuals that are drastically different from us.
Yeah, for sure.
Very emotional.
Different.
Like totally Caleb is not an emotional person.
Not really.
But he has to coach emotional people, which sometimes might be counterintuitive for you. But by understanding their strengths through a tool called Clifton Strengths, we were able to appreciate people better, love them better, and help them to accomplish their goals in their own unique way. Which we want to expand the potential of this through this podcast. So that's why we wrote this book and how is it related to the podcast.
I mean, maybe just to add on to that, I think we are in a people's business. That means to say every day we meet our clients, we meet our associates, our advisors, and we realize that there's no one size fit all approach, even for, let's say, a client. Right? If you just go to a client and you just sell a standard package of products, after a while you realize that it's a cut and paste. And likewise for advisors, we realize that there is no one size fit all approach as well. Like we can't use like the same coaching method for like 10 advisors.
We tried.
I mean, that was the starting point. And after I realized that, how can we develop strengths or rather unleash these strengths from these individuals and therefore they can perform
in their
fullest
way,
potential.
Customized for them.
So of course the book chapter 10 talks a little bit about that, but we'll be exploring more in this podcast as well because there are many strengths that we'll be going into. And for the audience out there, we will highly encourage you to take the Clifton Strengths Finder, right? It is how much?
I think it's currently in 2024, it's $90 to take the full assessment. But it gives you a lot of insights into who you are and what energizes you. I think it's very, very valuable.
So I mean, I've done many different personality tests, right? From Enneagram to MBTI to DISC to whatever love languages, right? There are different so-called tests out there. And what Strengths Finder stood out to me is that they are very specific in what they lay out in terms of what strengths you have. Because most of the different tests, they are not really strength based. It's more like what's your personality.
Yep.
Then you have to infer from
Yeah.
that personality into how you can apply to work
The
and in personal
actionables,
life.
which is the hardest part.
Correct.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, cool, this is me, but okay, now then how do I move forward from here? Yeah, but Strengths Finder give you that exact recipe, the do and the don'ts.
Yep.
Yeah, which help us to coach advisors even better.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course later we can share a little bit more about our strengths as well.
Yep. So I think this podcast is catered especially for advisors because our business is very people centric. In fact, we have to understand ourselves a lot better before deciding what's the best way to do our advisory practice.
Yeah.
And we realize that a lot of advisors in the industry, they do not know who they are. They follow templated scripts.
Yep.
They do things that are not energizing to them. For example, some people, they do road shows, even though it's very de-energizing for them to meet strangers.
Yeah.
Some people, they're not analytical in nature. They hate numbers, but they are very good in empowering their clients to take action on the investments. But they don't want to go too deep. But sometimes they are forced to dive into all the numbers, which is very de-energizing for them, which makes them very unhappy in their career. So we hope this podcast will be able to help advisors find their own style in their business to flourish and achieve things that they never thought they would achieve before.
Yeah, I think the word is really energizing. Yeah, I think a lot of times is if we want to make things happen, we'll make it happen lah. Right, the outcome will still be there.
Yep.
It's like you want to score A for your papers, you will just chiong and you mark every day and it will be done. But the process may not be energizing.
Yeah, they're not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we hope that by introducing strengths as an approach and from a coaching standpoint, it can energize someone to do even better lah from there on.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the chapters that I think we started this chapter 1, it is called Be Extraordinary. Yeah, why context why me and Wilfred wrote that chapter as a very first chapter is because today we live in a very, very competitive world. Yeah, like it or not, everyone, I would say 99%, right? They graduate with a diploma or a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 95%. Yeah, but most people actually graduate with a diploma degree. And today the world is getting more and more competitive because of globalization. Right? The saying goes, if you throw a rock today out there, you realize that 9 in 10, right, will have a certificate.
Yep.
Then the question is, what makes you different?
Yep.
Yeah, if you're just following through the system and you're just, right, let's say as an advisor, you're just taking the CFMAS papers, you just pass, okay, then you go to the standard trainings, you'll just be okay. You'll be ordinary. Right? But when I first stepped in this industry, I told myself that if I want to be in an industry that is self-employed and has a lot of stigma, I better do well. Right? I need to be extraordinary, which is what we will cover in this podcast, and of course the book talks about it.
Yep.
Shall we go into strengths? Yeah, maybe Wilfred, you can share like what are your top 2 strengths that you use on a daily or weekly basis.
Yep. So we in Strengths Finder, we focus a lot on our top 10 strengths because these strengths represent the strengths that energize us the most, the things that energize us the most. So my 2 favorite would be communication and positivity. Yeah, so I think for people who are new to strengths, they might just look at this with the English definition. Like, I love to communicate, I love being positive, I'm very positive, but it's not true. So I think we can take this chance to explain it. So I love my talent of communication because I find myself being energized when I verbalize my thoughts or I write out my thoughts. So whenever I'm in a group setting or in school, when there's group project, and I'm just listening, I find myself falling asleep. Cannot. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm waiting for the chance to talk.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, so once I'm able to verbalize my thoughts, I find myself being a lot more energetic and more driven to take action. So people with communication talents, if we know how to use it well, which is the mature form of it, we're able to bring across an idea to a crowd. I'm sure you know me for quite a while.
Yeah.
Whenever I learn about something, I tend to broadcast it to the entire company to increase the excitement levels of this specific idea or phenomenon or trend that I see in the market.
Yeah.
So so I took ownership of this strength when I realized I could use it to my advantage, and I tell myself whenever I feel like de-energized, I should communicate my thoughts a lot more and verbalize it. So that's one of it.
Okay.
But the raw form of it would be that sometimes I tend to overshadow the conversation. Yeah.
Meaning you talk too much.
Yes. Overtake the conversation.
Okay.
When sometimes it's very important to be a better listener than someone who constantly verbalizes what he thinks. So once I knew about how to regulate these strengths, it worked to my advantage instead of disadvantage. Yeah.
So like, are you very aware now?
Yeah,
You
very
talk every day. Like,
so I think subconsciously about my mind, I'll always be like, I got things to say,
Yeah.
but let's see what the other person is thinking first.
Okay.
So the second strength that I love is positivity. I'm not positive all the time. I have my negative moments just like you do. But I get encouraged and I get energized when I encourage others.
Okay.
I love spreading positivity. So weirdly, right, there's this quote that says, you to raise yourself, raise others. Yeah. So I find myself whenever I feel demotivated, I'll find someone to encourage, to spread my positivity to give hope to, and that is something that has helped me a lot. But sometimes people describe me as being overly optimistic. Any project, any idea that comes, they'll
Everything's
say
good,
like, well, everything can. Because I try to,
Not be negative.
yeah, and I tend to say that everything is possible
Mm.
without substantiating it. Yeah.
Okay.
So now I balance both sides. While I look at the positive side of things, or I encourage others when they are down. Whenever there's an idea that comes, while I'm the person that gives hope to the entire project,
Yeah.
I'm also wary to make sure that I hear from the ground what are some potential pitfalls that might come. Yeah.
Okay.
But these two strengths I resonate a lot with. I own it, and to me, it has helped my life become a lot happier when I know how to use it to my advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, for positivity, I'm quite curious. Like every day you give energy, right? Don't you feel tired?
That's the thing about strengths.
Okay.
Even when I'm tired, if I'm forced to be in the position to encourage, if the person is receptive, somehow no matter how tired I am, in that moment it gives me the energy. Because it's natural and instinctive to me. But of course, if the person is not receptive, no matter how I encourage the person, it becomes a one-way street. Then that's de-energizing for me. So I also choose the crowd that I spend time with as well. That's very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you introduced to this whole idea of strengths finder when about around last year or 2 years ago?
Early last year, I think.
Early last year.
Yeah, when I realized that I couldn't coach everyone in the same exact way. We were doing it, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to replicate the way we succeeded with everyone until I realized that no, we should start customizing. Then Strengths Finders came out. Yeah.
Okay. And I know that after that you decide to go for a course.
Yeah.
And you paid quite a sum of money, right?
9.8k SGD
9.8k
to become a Strengths Finder coach.
Okay, so in that 9.8k that you paid, right? So what, if you still remember, what were the biggest takeaway?
From the entire course, it's in fact we had to understand all 34 strengths.
Okay.
Yeah, even though it's
all 34.
All 34. There's a total of 34 talents.
Yeah.
We every single day we were diving deep into each talent about the raw form and the mature form of it. So that whenever we meet someone who is drastically different from us, we'll be able to see from their lens instead of our own lens.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a lot of understanding it and not judging them for their talents as well. Like when someone says they like to overthink, right? The instinctive thing that a coach should do is to be like, well, don't think so much.
Yeah.
Just do lah. That course help us to condition ourselves to listen, to ask to understand instead of asking to reply the person just to shut him down. Yeah.
Okay. So that was quite impactful for you.
Yeah, which led to the whole strengths finding culture, which many big companies have been doing as well. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So for you, what will be your top 2 strengths that you love?
Top 2 strengths, I would say first one is competition. Yeah, so as the word suggests, I'm quite competitive in nature. So even before I took this strengths finder, I realized like throughout my life, when even let's say you ask me to play, let's say frisbee, and I'm not particularly good at playing frisbee, deep inside I think like, then like that I don't play. I just sit down. I just stand on the side. I just watch people play. Yeah, then when I did this test and after I read the description, I realized, actually, right, maybe it's because of this trait. That at the back of my mind, I play to win and I don't play for fun. Yeah, so that is like the raw form, like I mentioned, right, which is everything you want to play to win, you cannot enjoy and you cannot live the moment because everything to you is about winning. Yeah, so this is one of the strengths that I have, that if I use it correctly, I tell myself if I use it correctly, right, to the mature form, I can benchmark, I give myself some benchmark, right, on like, let's say I want to so-called compete with this person or whichever organization, whatever that is, I can use that as a benchmark, but I need to bring out the best in me, right, to compete and not compete in a toxic way. Yeah, so that is me, competition, number 1. Right, second strength will be achiever. Yeah, so generally, I think ever since poly, or when my grades picked up, I realized that I've been more systematic, a lot more systematic in the way I do things. Like every single day, we practice this thing called scheduling, time blocking. Right, every single hour of our day, we will encourage our advisors to block out to have an intention. And for me, I love doing that because I love to be productive. When it's time to work, I work. When it's time for family, I spend time and I be 100% present. And yeah, for me, everything, one of my values is also is to have excellence in the things I do. Right? So one of the values I have is also being present and having excellence in the things I do. So generally from there on, I would say these true strengths have shaped me to the person I am. Yeah, some people will see, hey, well, Caleb is like quite scary because it's like
Very overly competitive,
competitive and everything. Yeah. So it's how to fine tune that image also from an external standpoint, such that they know that even if I'm competitive, right, a healthy competition, right, always creates a win-win situation. Yeah, for the other party as well.
So for achievers specifically, right? One of the raw forms that I've learned that is that for someone who is high achiever, you tend to always feel like you never ever feel like you're there. Like even if you accomplish like number one, you find it hard to acknowledge that you have arrived at where you want to be, and then constantly you'll find yourself seeking the next horizon. Is that true?
Well, I would say to a certain degree, yes. Like enough is never enough. Yeah, we always think that we can do more. Like working 10 hours a day is not enough. Yeah, so like I said, it's about regulating it, right? And you mentioned about your strengths as well, how you regulate from a raw form into a mature form. I think for myself, right at the start, or even at the start of this career, generally I would tell myself I want to be the first to be in the office and the last to leave. Like that was that competition in me. That is an example of competition. I want to be first and be last. I want to work harder than most people. And that's about achievers.
Even though people don't know that you're competing.
People don't know that I'm competing. But deep inside I'm competing.
Yeah.
So that is my mindset when it comes to that. And I realized that over time, maybe it's not just about clocking in time. But rather productive hours. Yeah, and I sometimes have to challenge myself that am I just being busy, right? Coming to office, go down, drink coffee, you want to go lunch, you want to eat dinner, or like am I spending the right amount of time doing the actual work that I need to do? Yeah, and over time I became more self-aware. I think self-awareness is something that is very important. Yeah, that at the start, you're just you but after going through experiences and of course some of these personality tests. And actually for my personality test, every year I do one time.
Every year?
Every year I do. Yeah, so Enneagram every year I do, MBTI every year I do, DIC I do it every year. Just to see like,
did I changed?
Yeah, like did I change? I mean, change is not good or bad, but rather like how am I? Yeah, and so that's what I do on a yearly basis to be aware. Because sometimes when you do tests from different providers and you buy the premium report, they give you different like information. And for me, that helps me to understand myself a bit more and regulate myself.
It's a checkpoint for yourself.
It's a checkpoint.
Where have you come since the person that you were? It's an achiever thing. You constantly want to improve yourself.
I mean, in Mandarin, 一山还有一山高 right? There's always another peak. So once I realized that, actually okay, whatever results I've achieved, if I compare to the average, I realize it's not too bad, right? And you sometimes have to give credit for what you have done. Sometimes in our industry, right, we have this thing called MDRT advisors. Some people, when they achieve MDRT, they're not even happy. They're just like, MDRT only. But it's not just MDRT only. MDRT signals are the top 5% of consultants worldwide. And that is like, wow, you're top 5% of the cohort. And yet you still feel that, okay only. Yeah, so sometimes it's understanding that. And actually in this industry, got quite a bit of achievers, generally, right? Enneagram type 3. People generally are more achieving. And that's why they're here also. Yeah, and when I see examples of that, then I remind myself that sometimes take a step back. Right, look at what you have done, the amount of effort you have put in to achieve whatever that you achieve. Is that fair? Right, is that something that you're happy? And sometimes you realize that actually it's not bad. It's good. And you have to acknowledge that and own that.
So I think the key is to understand your strengths so well, regulate it, and help make sure that it works for you and not against you. Okay.
So that is the introduction that maybe you want to give the audience some context. Are there any things that you would like to share before we close this podcast up?
So as the next few episodes of the podcast are aired, we really hope that the listeners will be able to tune into the strengths that resonate to you the most. Or if you're trying to understand someone that means a lot to you, like your spouse, like your girlfriend, like your best friend, right? You can also tune into the strengths that they have so they can seek to understand each other better. Hopefully, when you're listening to this, think about the problem in your business and in your life. This will make your listening a lot more productive because you'll be seeking solutions and not just listening for the sake of it. So I hope that this podcast will help to improve some lives, inspire some people. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us in our own personal Instagram and email us as well. We actually have an email for this in the description. So we can have a deeper chat from there.
Yeah. So over the next few sessions, I think what the audience can also expect is that we invite some advisors who have done well for themselves, have some brand in the industry, and want to go a little bit deeper into some of their strengths. For example, the next one we're going to have is Brian, that one of his strengths is significance, and we want to think how can we use that, how has he used that to bring the best out of himself
and energizing him.
And energize him through the business, right? And over the course of the next few episodes, we will share different strengths so that once you have done your strengths and you know your top 5 strengths, you can see which one relates to you a bit more, and from there learn from someone that has a similar strength as you. Of course, the context, circumstance may be different, but at least you get some idea of, oh, this is the mature form, oh, this is the raw form, and how you can work towards the mature form of your strengths.
Yep.
Right, so we'll catch you the next episode. See you soon.
See you soon.